You're standing in the parking lot of the grocery store. You went in for 5 things, you have 14 bags in the trunk, and you're sitting in the driver's seat right now? Not driving, just sitting, doing the math in your head, trying to figure out how a grocery run just cost you $187 when you had a list. You're not upset about the money exactly. You're upset because this keeps happening, and you don't know why. And the worst part is, you thought you were being careful. What if your spending isn't out of control because you're bad with money, but because you have 13 very specific blind spots that nobody ever taught you to see? Because once you can see them, they lose their power over you completely. I'm Deborah, and on this channel we turn financial anxiety into financial power. If you're new, subscribe. Welcome. Let's get into it. Before we get into the signs, I need to say something. 74% of Americans have an overspending problem. Nearly half have cried over their spending habits. And yet, most people walk around convinced that everyone else has it figured out, and they are the only ones struggling. You are not the only one. You are not broken. You are not behind because you lack discipline. You are navigating a consumer economy that spent billions of dollars figuring out exactly how to separate you from your money before your brain even registers what happened. Every single sign on this list is a documented psychological pattern, not a character flaw, a pattern. And patterns can be changed once you can see them. The first 4 signs are the ones most people dismiss immediately. Don't, because dismissing them is actually sign number 1. Sign 1. You spend more than you planned almost every single time. It's not just Target, it's Amazon, it's the grocery store, it's the gas station where you went in for one thing. There's a reason this keeps happening. Retail environments, physical and digital, are engineered specifically to increase the gap between what you plan to spend and what you actually spend. Placement, lighting, suggested items. The customers also bought section. But when this happens every time, not occasionally, it means your spending is being decided by the environment around you instead of the intention you walked in with. The fix isn't willpower. It's a list and a number. Write the list before you go. Set the number before you open the app. When both are fixed in advance, the environment has less room to decide for you. Sign 2. You avoid looking at your bank balance. Not because you're busy, because looking feels bad. There's even a name for this: financial avoidance. And it's one of the most documented signs of spending that's gotten away from us. Because when the numbers don't feel good, not seeing them feels like a form of protection. But here's what avoidance actually does. It keeps the problem invisible. And invisible problems compound silently while you're looking the other way. The relief of not knowing is always temporary. The damage of not knowing is always real. Sign 3. You justify purchases by how much you saved. It was 40% off. I basically saved money. Here's the math your brain skips. You cannot save money by spending money. A discount on something you weren't going to buy is not a saving. It's a purchase with a flattering label on it. When your brain is regularly reframing spending as saving, that's not smart shopping. That's a psychological pattern the retail industry spent decades perfecting specifically for people who are trying to be responsible. Sign 4. Your credit card balance goes up even in normal months. Not the month the car broke down. Not the month of a big trip. A normal month. An ordinary Tuesday kind of month. If your balance is higher at the end than the beginning of a regular month, your spending is structurally exceeding your income. Every month. Compounding. Quietly. Americans are carrying $1.23 trillion in credit card debt right now. That number exists because millions of ordinary months added up. Signs 5 through 8 are the ones that feel the most personal. Because they're not about numbers, they're about emotions, and that's exactly why they're the hardest to see clearly. Sign 5. You feel a rush when you buy something and regret right after the rush is real. It's not weakness. It's dopamine, the same brain chemical triggered by food, exercise, and connection. Every step of a purchase triggers it. Browsing, deciding, buying, receiving. The problem is that the relief is always temporary, and when the dopamine drops, regret fills the space it left. So you spend again to get the feeling back, and the cycle continues. When this pattern is familiar, spending has moved from a financial behavior to an emotional one. That's important to name because no budget addresses an emotional pattern. Awareness does. You can't interrupt a cycle you can't see. Sign 6. You have things at home with tags still on them. Look in your closet, your garage, the back of a drawer. How many things did you buy with a version of yourself in mind that never quite showed up? The workout clothes for the gym habit you were going to start. The book for the hobby you were going to pick up. The kitchen gadget for the meals you were going to make. Unused purchases are evidence of the gap between the life you pictured when you bought something and the life you're actually living. When that gap is large, and when it keeps growing, it points to buying the feeling of becoming someone rather than actually becoming them. Sign 7. You spend more when you're stressed or emotional hard day at work. Something frustrating happened. Someone said something that got under your skin, and 30 minutes later, something is shipping to your address. Emotional impulse spending is one of the most common causes of living beyond your means. When feelings like anxiety, overwhelm, or loneliness become the trigger for spending, shopping isn't a financial decision anymore. It's a coping strategy. And the key is not to judge yourself for it. The key is to notice the trigger before the purchase rather than after. Sign 8. You don't know your fixed monthly obligations off the top of your head. Quick, without looking at your phone. What is your rent or mortgage exactly? Your car insurance? Your total minimum debt payment every single month? If you're not sure, that gap in awareness is quietly running your financial life, because you can't make good spending decisions when you don't know what's already committed before you spend a single dollar. Clarity about your fixed numbers isn't advanced finance. It's the foundation everything else is built on. 5 more. Signs 9 through 13 are the ones nobody talks about, because they're the most socially acceptable ways to overspend, which makes them the hardest to catch. Sign 9. You have subscriptions you forgot you were paying for. You'll find one while reading this, or you'll find 3 when you check your statement tonight. The average American spends over $240 a month on subscriptions and thinks they spend around $40 to $50. That's nearly $3,000 a year leaving quietly, automatically, without a single conscious decision being made after the original sign-up. Subscriptions are the only financial product designed to be forgotten, and forgetting them is exactly how they stay profitable. Sign 10. You use other people's spending to justify your own. My coworker buys lunch out every day and she's fine. Everyone in my friend group takes trips. I'm not spending any more than the people around me. Using other people's spending as your financial benchmark is one of the most expensive habits that feels completely reasonable. Because if the people around you are spending beyond their means, and most of them are, matching their behavior isn't neutral. It's costly. Your financial comparison group should be your future self, not the current version of the people around you. Sign 11. You tell yourself you'll make up for it next month. Next month arrives with the same paycheck, the same obligations, plus whatever you charged this month now carrying interest. The "I'll fix it next month" story is one of the most expensive sentences in personal finance. Not because next month never comes, but because it converts 1 month of overspending into a multi-month problem with interest attached. And the emotional relief it gives you in the moment is exactly what prevents you from addressing it right now. Sign 12. You feel anxious when you can't spend a sale ends and you feel like you missed something important. Your card gets declined and the reaction feels bigger than the situation deserves. A week where you genuinely spent very little feels uncomfortable, like something is off. When the absence of spending creates anxiety, spending has become something your nervous system depends on. That's not a money problem. That's an important signal worth paying attention to. Sign 13. You have more month than money but can't figure out where it went. The math should work. Your income should be enough, but it's not. And when you try to trace where it went, you can't account for a significant portion of it. That money didn't disappear. It left in small amounts, at frequent intervals, for reasons that each felt completely justified in the moment. The sum of 100 small justified decisions is the number that doesn't make sense at the end of the month. More than half of Americans admit to spending recklessly, but reckless spending almost never feels reckless in the moment. It feels like a reasonable response to a stressful day, a good deal, a small treat, a necessity that became a habit. So how many did you count? Before you tell me, I want you to notice something. The fact that you watched this far isn't guilt, it's honesty. And honesty about where you actually are is the rarest and most valuable thing in personal finance. Most people never get here. They defend, they deflect, they say, I'm not that bad, and they stay exactly where they are. You didn't do that. If you counted 3 or fewer, you're doing better than most. Keep going. If you counted 4 to 8, there are patterns worth looking at, not a crisis, a clear opportunity. If you counted 9 or more, I need you to hear this clearly. You are not uniquely broken. You are a person with a very human set of financial patterns, living inside a system that was specifically designed to produce exactly those patterns. You were never taught to see them. Nobody showed you, and that's not your fault. But now you can see them, and that changes everything. Not dramatically, not overnight, but specifically and permanently, because you can't unsee what you've just seen. Here's what you do this week, just this week. Open your bank statement and look at the last 30 days. Every transaction. Circle anything you don't remember or can't justify. That pattern is where you start. Pull up your subscriptions. total them. Compare that number to what you thought you were spending. The next time you feel the urge to buy something that wasn't on your plan, wait 24 hours before you act on it. Not forever, just 24 hours, 3 moves, this week. Not a complete overhaul, just the beginning of seeing clearly, because that's always where it starts. Not with a perfect budget, with honest eyes. If this hit home, subscribe. Because next video, we're going deep on something that surprised me when I first learned it. Your car payment is the reason you will never build wealth. Most people don't connect those dots. We will. My name is Deborah. This is Deborah Invests. Now go look at that statement.